Nightmare is next. And this is one that I listened to. I know I listened to it. I kept getting distracted. And at the end, I was like, I don't think I like that album very much. But then I went to listen to it again a few days later, and yeah, a lot of the songs grew on me. Well, I just didn't listen properly the first time. What about you guys?
I remember it taking a long time to like it. I got to admit, like when I first heard it, I was sort of sat there like, oh, this is okay. And then all of a sudden, there was just a time when I turned it on, and all of a sudden, the riff to Welcome to the Family starts sounding more beefy every time you listen to it, and you're like, oh yeah, actually this is really good. But I think it was quite different. Like City of Evil was kind of all over the place. Then Afterlife, not Afterlife, what am I on about? Avenged Sevenfold is kind of not poppy, but it's like more structured. And then that was just a very big change, I think. Not the biggest change I've ever done, mind, but like for some reason that one really took a long time to click.
I think if you weren't in the right mode, though, sometimes it doesn't matter how good the album is. If you're not in the right mood or mode for it, you're just not going to absorb it. And like you said, you went back to it and you're like, holy shit, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Happens, doesn't it?
I think it's the biggest... I literally said this about the last album. I was going to say it's the biggest collection of bangers, but I'm going to probably say that about every album, to be honest. But this was probably when I was in my prime Avenged... years, if you will. But, well, in fact, I remember when they played 2011. Did they play 2011? Was that underneath Trivium? Let me check my notes.
So, yeah.
2011.
System.
Below System, sorry.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to go to Download. I would have been 16 at the time. And my parents, quite understandably, says, no, you can't go. My sister was 2.5 years older than me, so she went. And I'll always remember, Nightmare was like my favourite song. And she rang me in the middle of the day. I'm like, why is she ringing me now? And she played Nightmare over the phone, and I listened to the entirety. So even though I couldn't make it there, we've got that memory that I was there, which was nice. But yeah, I was just mad on Avenged, mad on when this came out. I listened to it start to finish constantly, to a stage now where it's like if I listen to Nightmare and Welcome to the Family doesn't come on afterwards, I'm like, ooh, that's a bit jarring. Do you know what I mean? I'm so used to doing that, like the double kick and everything down.
Well, that's when you know an album too well. Yeah,
exactly. And that it's the same with every song. I listen to every song and I'm waiting for the next song, if you know what I mean. And it's Home to God Hates Us, which again I think is Avenged's best song. It's just filthy. It's just so good. I wish they'd play it live now, but unfortunately they don't seem to play. But if there was an album I'd like to see start to finish live, it would be this. So hopefully in how long have I got to wait? Another 6 years. Hopefully they do a 20-year anniversary. There we go.
Yeah,
it'd be quite a downer of a one though, because it's got like Save Me on it. It's got Victim. Yeah. You'd be stood there half the time like, oh. It would
be. We can all cuddle. It's fine.
Crying his eyes out. I hadn't gone back to this one for quite some time, if I'm honest. I'd forgotten how incredible this album was, and every song that came on was just me remembering how great this album was. I don't know why. I mean, I probably haven't listened to it in 6-7 years, maybe, apart from Nightmare that I've heard other places, but as an album in its entirety. And as soon as I went back, I was like, oh, fucking hell, this is so good. Why has this been pushed out of my consciousness? Because it is just start to finish absolutely incredible. I would also pay good money to see this played from start to finish.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
definitely. I think it's amazing.
And it was Mike Portnoy.
Yeah,
that drummed for this one, wasn't it?
Yeah, from Dream Theater.
Dream Theater drummer.
Cool.
Yeah.
What a replacement, eh?
Yeah, do you know what I mean? Let's, like you said though, to replace him, you have to get probably one of the best quality metal drummers that there is just to replace him. Like, you know, he's not even doing stuff necessarily as good. He's just doing it to as the same standard almost. Like, that's fucking nuts.
He's actually the second choice they couldn't get Lars, so.
Dun ga, ga, dun ga.
That's it. Imagine the start of Welcome to the Family if we're in this alternate universe and Lars
Just an anger drum.
kick. Yeah.
Someone please do that whole album, right? But replace it all with the St. Anger sound and see how it sounds. Fucking hell. Oh, sorry, Lars. I'm a huge Metallica fan.
He's a lad, but
it's funny now.
He's an easy target, so sorry,
he
dude.
is, yeah, he is.
I know you're listening. I'm sorry.
Listening. But yeah, what I was saying earlier, I'm actually struggling to talk about this album. I don't recognise any of the song names, but I know I listened to it like 2 or 3 times after the first sort of time, and I really liked it. But I can't go through and pick out any names and go, oh, that one was really good, and I like this one because of this reason. But yes, so I can't. I struggled. I'm sorry. Let's go to Hail to the King. Is that the one? That one there?
Yeah, sure is.
Hail to the King. I think this is similar. Shepherds of Fire, the first song. That took me a while to get into. I didn't like it to start with. I really didn't. I think it was only today, actually, when I listened to the playlist, and I was like, what's this? And it's actually really good. I really like this now. But I can't really pick out much else here.
I think, again, it's a very strong front end. It's another one of those albums where, you got Shepherd of Fire into Hail to the King, into Doing Time, into This Means War. And then I'll be honest, I kind of drop off after that. But that's a very, very strong first 4 songs, in my opinion.
Talking of riffs that are a bit too close, like with the Misfits, when you got This Means War on there, it's mighty close to... which Metallica song is it? It's gone out of my head now. But
Sad But True?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
But, you could literally I reckon you could put James Hetfield's vocals over that song, and because I remember thinking about it one time, and they were about the same length as well, and so you could probably just remove one, put on the other, and it would be it would make sense. But I think the biggest problem with it is the drums. I don't think Aaron was a bad drummer, at all. When you listen to what he could play live, I just think they went into they tried to do a stadium rock album or stadium metal, really. And I think a lot of people just blamed him, and because the drums at times are really simple and they're just not Jimmy, are they? They're nowhere near it. That he kind of ends up taking a lot of flack. But I don't think it's as bad as people say. There's sometimes the drums do sound fine, and like you've said many times on Discord, the production of it is amazing. It's one of the best sounding. Yeah.
Boomy as fuck. This album pumps through speakers, man.
Mm-hmm.
And there was another question that was on the list was about openers, and to be honest with you, if I was going to pay, if I could do the set list request that they did for Metallica, 100% they should open every time with Shepherd of Fire, because it just, when my friend went to see him and he always tells me about it, and I've seen videos of it, it just, the way they start that song, it allows each member to come out as well, and then there's fire, it just looks amazing. And ever since then, the other sounding albums, I don't think they start as strong. That just is perfect. And we got it a little bit in 2018 because they came back out for the encore, and it was they opened with the stage and it was kind of boring. But then when they came out for the encore with Shepherd of Fire, it was open with that, guys. Come on, do what every other band does and just pick an opener.
It's true. It's true though. Yeah. The way that the riff starts, it starts here, and then you have the fucking toms start going, and then it's just that digga bow now bow. You can imagine it, can't you? How fucking epic that would be.
Even to the point M Shadows doesn't come in for a minute. So when they open for that song as well, I've seen videos of the crowd kind of getting there, they're kind of getting excited, and then he runs on stage and it's pandemonium, because he's then running out on stage to start, and then ever since then I felt they kind of have missed that. That should open for me. I think that's a really.
Could you imagine? Could you imagine if they open with that a download? Fucking hell!
We're all just gonna look around.
That would be. Epic, I'd be so up for that.
Especially as we're all probably expecting them to open with the Life is But a Dream opener. It would be like a...
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. There was another song on this one that I thought sounded like another band, actually. I thought Coming Home sounds like a Blaze Bayley era Iron Maiden song.
Yeah.
I can't get it in my head at the moment. I'm not quite as good as you guys, but yeah, it definitely
I'm gonna
reminded
have
me.
to go back to that. I can't picture it quite in my head, but yeah, nice.
Yeah, but I think there are a few songs on this album that kind of reminded me a little bit of other bands, and it was as if they did take like influences from lots of different places, and that's another thing I wanted to touch on. Actually, they have done a lot of songs that have sounded very similar to other bands' riffs, like we talked about with Sad But True. And they've never, I don't know, they've never really got stick for it. Maybe they have, and I've just missed it. But they've gotten away with it, and they've gotten probably as big as they are by sort of not just by stealing, but like I said, just gotten away with it and gone like, oh, let's just take this bit. This will help us out. This will help us out.
Yeah. I don't know. There's similar though, and then that's just a blatant fucking rip-off. And I think some of them are similar, but not so similar where,
They definitely got stick for This Means War. I remember it vividly when it came out.
Did they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was a lot of the older generation obviously grew up with Metallica and whatever, and that's like the only band they'll ever listen to is like, oh, it's a rip-off, I can't believe it. But everyone should go and watch on YouTube Ride the Plagiarism. If you haven't already, it's someone's put it together, and it's essentially they'll play a Metallica song. No, sorry, they'll play a random band song, and then they'll play a Metallica song, and the riffs from that old band, 60s, 70s, early 80s, is literally the riff that you're hearing in Metallica. So everyone can say that Avenged are the only band that do it, but when the greats like Metallica do it, it's going to happen. People
Everyone
take
copies
inspiration
everyone,
from
man.
anything. So
Yeah, exactly. Everyone. I mean, I was going to say, I think that's why this is probably the Avenged Sevenfold album. I go back to this, the new one, and Avenged Sevenfold. They're the three albums I listen to the most because you know that meme of Mr. Bean where he's looking at the person's homework. It's literally the Black Album, and then Avenged Sevenfold doing that, and it should just say "Hail to the King." But the Black Album is one of my favourite albums of all time, and this feels like an homage to that album, not like a copy album. And that's why what you were saying about the drums, I don't think complex drums would have worked with these riffs.
No, not at all.
Which is why I don't know why he gets the stick for it, because with these riffs, what else was he supposed to play? Like, I don't understand it. That's why I love it though. It feels like something that goes hand in hand with and there is other stuff sprinkled throughout it, but it really does feel like their homage to Metallica's Black Album, which is one of my favorite albums of all time. And I think this is a fantastic album. It's definitely in a different direction. And I know they got a lot of stick with it at the time because it was very simplified compared to what they'd done on Nightmare. But I love this album. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah. Whilst we're back on the drummer, sorry, what was the drummer's name on this album?
Aaron Illahai.
Okay, and where did he come from?
No idea. Like, honestly, he doesn't seem to have been in any kind of big band before. They seem to just like, I think... I
wasn't sure if he was like a YouTuber or something. I seem to have a recollection of something like that.
Possibly. I know he joined the band quite soon afterwards. I'll see if I can find out quickly now. Aaron. Oh, it's a really weird spelling of a name as well. It's, he's in a band called Confide.
Currently.
Oh no, he was. Sorry, he was in Confide before he joined the band.
Oh, okay.
Not a clue what he's doing now.
Maybe just a friend of a friend then.
Got to be a lifestyle change going from Avenged to a band no one knows.
Simple drums, but solid. Like that album sounds good.
Tight,
yeah, tight, nice, boomy, great.
Yeah, but back on what I was saying a minute ago. I do think. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people would have noticed. A lot of Sinister's Gates' like solos or guitar sounds a lot like Slash, but there are some solos that like do sound like almost note for note as well. I can't tell you which songs and which songs were taken, But yeah, that's something I picked up on. Maybe not particularly this album, but something I picked up on. I'm like, it's fine. It's fine to do it. It does sound good, and I really like Slash. I like his solos as well. But yeah,
You talked about Blaze Bayley, Iron Maiden. You could probably take "Doing Time" and stick that in a Guns N' Roses album.
Yeah,
True.
I can see that.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Doing Time is out on this one.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Ah, yeah. I don't know what it sounds
Yeah,
like right at the minute.
I'm imagining Axl Rose singing that right now, and it just works. Yeah, that's really odd.
Awesome. Should we move on to the next one, or do you want anyone want to say any more about this album?
I think I'm good.
All good.
Cool. Well, the next album was The Stage then. I listened to this one quite a lot. I kept getting distracted. I think I said in the Discord, I'd put it on and I kept getting distracted at work because I'd have my headphones on at work and people come and talk to me, you bastards, fuck off. And like, so I listened to the first bit of the album loads. Not so much the second part of the album, but yeah, I think The Stage and Paradigm are absolutely amazing songs.
Yeah.
Sunny Disposition is a bit of a weird one, but I like it as well. I really quite like it. The rest of it, I can't really say much on, to be honest.
It's a bit of a nothingness album for me. Again, everyone else can go off on this one, but for me, I'm going to take a back seat because I tried listening to it for the first time a couple of weeks back, start to finish, and there wasn't any songs that I could pick out at all. Nothing. I was just listening whilst working away, and nothing made me think, oh, I'll check the name on this one. It just kind of started, and then the album ended. So it's a no from me, unfortunately.
It's a bit like just. Oh, sorry, Gary.
I was going to say, this is the year that they played that year at Download that I found them incredibly boring as well. So I obviously wasn't in the mood for them that year, so that explains a lot as well.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on.
It makes sense because I think it's just such a change. Like the way that you went from Avenged Sevenfold to Hail to the King. You then go from Hail to the King, like the kind of almost like dad Rocky's down an album at times, to like a crazy prog album. And like they go from having Aaron, who is really held back in that one, to then they got Brooks Wackerman from I think it was in Suicidal Tendencies, and he's just completely unleashed in Bad Religion, and like so he's probably one of the most famous punk drummers of all time, and you get him on there and he's completely let go. He's allowed to do whatever he wants, and you get The Stage. Like this, like the opening for The Stage is like probably in the first minute more complex than anything Aaron was allowed to do. And you're a minute into it, and you're kind of like, all right. And so I think there are some songs for me on there. Like I like Goddamn. I think that's a really good song.
The drums. You just said drum. The drums in Goddamn are fucking great.
Yeah, they go back to hitting you in the chest, which you haven't had for a while, and you're like, oh yeah, I really like that. And then like Roman Sky is another really good ballad, but like I do get it with this one quite a bit. Like I can understand the disappointment, but I also. They did like a really weird thing where they didn't even tease that it was coming out. You literally just woke up and it was like that U2 album that was on your iPhone. It was just like, oh, Avenged are here. Okay, what's happened there? Like, and then you start listening to it and it was like, okay, there. And there are some songs I like on it now, but I definitely wouldn't be. I don't think I could listen to that start to finish. Like, even Exist, which I like because of the Neil deGrasse Tyson bit, which I think is amazing. It's just you sort of. Kind of looking at your watch like, okay, right, there's 8 minutes left. Come on, let me get through it. So yeah, not my favourite at all. I think it there's an impressive guitar in there, impressive drumming, but it's not up to the heights of before, definitely.
Yeah, I think I agree totally with what you said. Nothing on this album feels fully cooked, and everything on this album is either too long or too short. It's like they just haven't... Nothing has gelled perfectly like you would have another Avenged album. Like, there's so many great ideas, so many good musical parts. It just all doesn't feel connected or together. Everything's played excellent. All the parts are good, but... I mean, I don't know what the production of this album was like to do, but it does feel very, very messy. And... this feels more messy than the new album does, and that fucking says something.
I agree.
So yeah, a weird one. Not bad, like you said, few good songs, but yeah, it's probably the only. If we don't count the first two, just due to their age, this is probably the only disappointing one, really.
Yeah, I think with me,
Okay.
there's a bit of nuance on it because I do love everything they do. Genuinely, I'm trying to like come down to the level of like why it's not up there with the rest. I still love it, but I can imagine like if I'd have come in at this point, I probably would have been like, oh, well, I'll give them a miss. but like now that I've listened to it all, but because like, they have a weird thing where like I know we say it sounds a bit like Slash at times. For some reason, the second Sinister Gate starts playing, I can always tell it's him. Like if someone was to like. They did a new album and I'd never heard it, and they were like within a second when he starts playing, I'd be like, "That's in." I can hear it instantly, and that's still on there for me.
Nice. Yeah. No, I'll talk about a little bit about that at the end. So, we have one more album. I didn't realise Diamonds in the Rough was a covers album. I was listening to it, and I'm like. I think it got to like Walk, which is the 7th song before I realised it was a covers album. Although Flash of the Blade, I'm sure, is an Iron Maiden cover, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, is this Iron Maiden cover? Is this Iron Maiden? I'm not sure. And I carried on listening. I was like, okay, yeah, it's got to be a cover album now then. So yeah, we're skipping that one and going to Life is But a Dream. Anybody want to jump in and see what they think about Life is But a Dream?
Have we got a spare couple of hours?
I mean, I'll give you a small teaser of like the NFT thing later, but where they came in really handy was you got that album a day before anyone else, but you could only listen to it on their .io website, and you couldn't pause it. It was start to end. You had to sit there and listen to all of it. And I woke up and went on Twitter, and someone had posted about it. So I was like, right, get on there. I signed in, and I was a little bit hungover listening to this album, and I was like, just listen to it the whole way through. And doing it that way was so much better because I didn't know when one song was starting and one was ending, and like there are genuine when I then listened to it, having known what the tracks are, it surprised me like where songs ended and finished. Like I was like, oh, I thought that was like half. Like I didn't realize that was half of this song and half of that song. Like it's so all over the place. But and there were points in it as well where I just remember bursting out laughing. Like when it turns out to be Ordinary started, I was like, why? Like, but I love it at the same time. But where does that come from? And I could hear like I loved it, and I'll like I'll always say how much I like I'll stand for it. But I can definitely understand why people don't. It's so weird. Like there are some parts of it. Like there's even a bit where like in Death, it decides to just go delete. Oh, not the first one. G. Sorry.
Yeah.
And you're like, why? But okay, it does work. But why? And like then the piano bit at the end, like it is obviously part of the album, like amazing and beautiful. But you can like if you go through Spotify, you can see where people have tailed off because it's like. 3 million, 4 million, 2 million, 100,000, and you're like, oh, okay, if this is where people get bored of this album, then. Yeah. But no, I really like it, and I do hope though that they don't play too much of it download because there's some parts of it I don't think work on their own. Like there's definitely songs there that just won't hit.
I mean, what can they play off of it? That's the question. What are they willing to play off? I mean, there are some songs you could pick out straight away and say they could play that. Then there's other songs where you could say, well, I guess they can play that, but yeah, I don't know if they're gonna play that or not.
They seem like I won't give it away because I know they're doing the set list afterwards. But there are some songs they play off of it currently. But I was hearing as well that they're planning on playing Cosmic live, like at some point. Which I think would be amazing. Like,
oh, I'm well up for that.
I'm wondering if Shadows has actually got the lungs to do it live. Like,
yeah.
So I think I'm not sure if I said it earlier or not, but this was the very first Avenged Sevenfold album I listened to because I listened to it a couple of months ago. Yeah. I knew it was there. We spoke about it a little bit on here, and I knew it was there and existed, and how people talked about it so much. I was like, I need to listen to it at some point. So I did. I stuck it on, and I quite enjoyed it on my first go. And I was like, I thought it feels like they've written the whole thing to be a stage show. They've written it to do for what they can do on stage with it. It seems like it's all sort of very theatrical. I felt.
Definitely.
I don't really know much about concept albums. I don't know what a concept album is. Whatever. I couldn't name you one. I'm basically trying to say. But from this one, there just seems to be like an underlying story throughout. This is just what I think anyway. It's just like, the name of the album, Life is But a Dream. Is it all real? Are we real? And then you've got Mattel, where it's like talking about being, plastic bones and, vinyl skin provides protection to my plastic bones and this, that and the other. Just like, is anything real? And I think when you kind of delve a bit deeper and you look at it in that frame of mind, you can appreciate it a bit more. But I can see why people have come from like Almost Easy, Unholy Confessions, Nightmare, and then listen to this and like, what the fuck's going on? But if you just come into it with a fresh mind and try and get into the mindset that they're in writing it, it is a really interesting listen. And to start with, when they first released Nobody, I mean, I love that riff, Nobody, but I was still like, this isn't Avenged. This isn't the Avenged I love. But when you actually listen to the album from start to finish, which I'm pretty sure is how they intend you to listen to it, I think it's brilliant and I love it.
Totally agree.
Yeah, I think Nobody, and I'll never forget how much you surprised me, Tom. And I did say ages ago, I sped it up so his voice sounded like it always used to sound, because it's really deep and low, isn't it? So I sped it up a little bit. I think it was like 17.5% or something like that. And I put it on at your stag do, and you were paying no attention to it, talking to somebody else. But in about 15 seconds in, you're just like, why is this so fast? So you've been taking it in like subconsciously. Maybe you can do both at the same time, but like, I didn't think you were even listening. But you're like, why is it so fast?
If music's on, my brain is always paying attention.
Yeah.
That's fucking hilarious. Why is this so fast?
Yeah. But I don't think it sounds... At the time, I thought, I've done an amazing thing. This sounds amazing. But yeah, thinking back to it, it doesn't sound very good. It is too fast.
It's a great song. It's a great album. This album evokes like the most feeling, I think, of any Avenged album for some weird fucking reason. It's just so crazy, but I think that the heavy parts hit really well, and the weird, like, I've never had such a reaction from people for an album until I've played them this album. Like, I play this album to people and they're like, what the fuck is going on right now? And that is exactly how I felt listening to it the first time. I was like, I don't understand what is happening right now. So it's just so interesting to listen to. And the difference, like, I don't know any album by one band that has 3 songs that sound so jarringly different. So G is basically a Frank Zappa song. It is an homage to Frank Zappa. He sounds exactly like any Frank Zappa song, right? And then that goes into... Oh, go on, sorry.
I was going to say G is a Dream Theater song. It starts... I was going to ask if Mike from Dream Theater, I was getting late, was still in the band, because, like, yeah, the riff at the beginning isn't exactly the same as a Dream Theater song.
Funnily enough, though, Brooks' older brother is the drummer for Frank Zappa.
Oh.
So Brooks has played in Frank Zappa. Like, he covered for his brother before.
Yeah, I actually don't know much to Frank Zappa, so it could be both.
There you go.
I just could be wrong.
No. I'll have to listen to more Dream Theater.
Yeah.
But as we were saying, I've only just really started on my Dream Theater journey.
Yeah.
I was talking to you the other day about it when
I wasn't trying to say, oh, you're wrong, it's Dream Theater, but yeah, that's obviously I don't know. Fuck me.
It's all prog shit.
Yeah.
All prog shit. All these prog guys, they're all doing the same sort of shit. But yeah, but like G sounds, like a Frank Zappa song. And then Ordinary is like a funky Red Hot fucking Chili Peppers. That's probably my favourite song on the album as well. I'm not going to lie. Ordinary is fucking amazing. But it's the last thing you would expect them to do. And then you go into Death, which sounds like a 1960s fucking Frank Sinatra song. It's beautiful. It literally sounds like you'd expect someone from, Frank Sinatra could have sung that song and everyone would have been like, oh my God, it's fucking amazing and incredible.
Yeah.
But it's just so... I still struggle to wrap my head around this album, but like I said, I've listened to this, I can't even tell you how many times. It's so interesting, so diverse, it sounds so great, it's so different. I love it. I'm really interested to see what they play at Download.
Yeah.
I hope they play some of the heavier ones, but I hope they play at least one of the really fucking
obscure
weird ones.
Yeah.
Because I think that would just be a blast. Just be going, oh my God, they're fucking playing Ordinary or something, any of the weird ones. Just play one of them and I will be happy.
Well, I think Ordinary, it must have been Ordinary I was listening to. On the first listen, like every single song, I was like, what the hell's this? What the hell's this? Well, I'm sure it was Ordinary. I was like, this could easily be written by Nile Rodgers. I don't know if it is that song, but I'm listening to it, think this could be like Nile Rodgers, and then some of them, it's like this could be Daft Punk, and so many different influences that they've taken across the board. I was actually listening to an interview. I wish I could remember what song it was, but they really tried to get Lionel Richie to sing a feature in one of the songs. Now, can you imagine if prior to the release of the album you got the song list and it says, oh, and this one's featuring Lionel Richie, you'd be like, what the fuck is going on with Avenged Sevenfold?
It's already weird enough without the Lionel Richie feature. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'd just like to correct an early mistake. I was getting Frank Zappa mixed up with Bruce Springsteen and Max Weinberg. It must be late. So he didn't at all. And I was just sat there and I said, came out of my mouth and I was like, no, he didn't, Scott. What are you on about? But I was thinking of the fact that Jay Weinberg covered for his dad in the E Street Band. But no, he didn't at all. I don't know where that came from.
Fake news.
Fake news. It's as if this album, they've gone like, okay, so in another universe, we'll imagine that Guns N' Roses, Metallica and Iron Maiden didn't exist. Who else would we have latched onto and stolen their sounds? Okay, well, we don't actually have 2 hours to talk about this, like you said earlier, Simon. Let's move it on from here.